of his release after 27 years in prison. We evoke not only his physical freedom, but the birth of the new hope of South Africa and an example to the world. So thank you everyone for coming. And we're going to be learning a lot today. Madiba taught us a true leadership and what service is to others and to ourselves with courage, empathy, and commitment and justice. Today, here with you, my name is Umi Bunu, and I'm an Ubuntu alumni from Kenya. I've been a trainer in Ubuntu Leaders Academy, the first cohort that is in 2021. And there's a lot that we'll be learning here today with us. And with an assistance of my cohort, that is Miguel, there's a lot that we are going to be learning. And at the same time, I'm very well accompanied, like I said, with Miguel, whom you will get to know. Thank you. Pass to you, Miguel.
Thank you, Umi. Well, my name is Miguel Jaramillo. I am from Colombia, South America. I am Ubuntu leader and Ubuntu trainer. I'm also the co-leader of the Ubuntu Academy for the Ibero-American Council. So I'm super happy to be here with you guys today. It's again, I am so thrilled about this. So, but before we begin, we would like to share with you a couple of technical instructions that may help us all to go through this session in a better way. So the first one is we are inviting everyone who's connected to turn your camera on. This will allow us to see each other, and this is going to foster the sense of presence and closeness despite of the physical distance that we have. Number two, we invite you to change your name and following specific instruction that we're going to give you. The idea is that you put your name and then dash your country of origin. So if you don't know how to rename yourself, all you have to do is click on the three dots that are on the top right corner of your video in Zoom and select rename to change your name. Again, the idea would be that you put, for example, like Anna dash PT if you are from Portugal, or SA if you are from South Africa, and so on and so on. The third recommendation is that you select the speaker view. The speaker view will allow you to see both participants and the presentation simultaneously. So this is going to give you a better experience watching this session. Number four, we are inviting everyone to share your ideas through the chat, any comments, any questions, so we can know what are your reflections, what are your queries throughout the session. So let's make it like a live interaction by using the chat. And finally, this session is being translated into French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So you can see in your in the lower bar of your Zoom screen, you'll see an icon that looks like a mappa mundi, as the slide is showing you. So by clicking there, you can choose which language you want to listen this session on. Again, we are translating into French, Portuguese, and Spanish. And of course, we are talking live in English. Go ahead, Umi. Your microphone is muted.
So thank you so much, Miguel. In this meeting today, you're going to be hearing voices from different parts of the world. And you're also going to be inspired by the vision of justice, reconciliation, and service to others. Together, we want to honor the legacy of Madiba, that is, and ask ourselves, how can we be able to be builders of peace in this world? So thank you so much, Miguel. I would like to pass the microphone to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So to start this journey, we invite someone who is a true example of commitment, having dedicated all his life to transformative education. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome Professor John Volmink, who's the president and founder of the Ubuntu Global Network and a key figure in building fairer and more inclusive communities. He is going to welcome us, and he's going to introduce us to our first guest on this session today. Welcome very much. Welcome, Mr. Volmink.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Miguel, for that gracious introduction. My name is John Volmink, and I'm very pleased to be with you and also with Umi as the co-host. I want to say just a few things before I introduce our guest speaker. The first thing I want to say is that we're joining on this Mandela Day. We are joining a global celebration which honors the life of and the legacy of Nelson Mandela, who, as you know, was the former president of South Africa and a global leader. But it's not just a commemoration today of Mandela's birthday. And Mandela was born in 1918. But it's also a call to action, to embody his values. And those values that I like to point out is many, there are many, but the values of courage and the pursuit of justice and peace and compassion and kindness and service. Those are some of the values that Nelson Mandela lived for. And so the significance of Mandela Day lies in its ability to inspire individuals and collectives to make a positive impact in the communities and in the world at large. So if you go back to 1990 at 1614, as Umi said, and Miguel, that was a Sunday, February the 11th, 1990. Nelson Mandela walked out of Victor Verster prison, where he spent 27 years of his life. Well, part of that is Robben Island, and part was in Victor Verster. But when he walked out on his own terms. And his legacy since then was defined by his tireless effort and fight against apartheid, but also his commitment to reconciliation and his advocacy for human rights. So I like this quote, as he walked out of prison, which is this time in 1990. When he left, he said the following: as I walked out of the door towards a gate that would lead me to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and my hatred behind, I would still be in prison. It is this mindset that defined his leadership and shaped his approach to reconciliation and peace building and nation building in this country and across the world. They had a fundamental impact on the prevention of bloodshed in post-apartheid South Africa. If Nelson Mandela was anybody else, there would have been bloodshed. But he was an advocate for reconciliation and peace. And he set a wonderful example for geopolitical dialogue across the world. I just want to say a couple more things. His unwavering dedication to the cause of freedom, the cause of justice, the cause of peace, earned him international recognition like the Nobel Prize, but also until this day, although he's not with us anymore, we admire him. Because the core today of Mandela Day is the idea of service. And it was so nice for me in South Africa, everybody on today, they give 67 minutes of their time. And it was so good for me to listen to all the various commitments that people are making today here. And it's an emphasis on service and I will say something about that in a minute. Mandela serves as a reminder of the power of individual action. One person can make a big difference. And his own story is a testament to the impact that one person can have on the world, like any one of us could have in our communities. Through his courage, through his resilience, and his determination, Nelson Mandela was able to bring about significant change, not only in South Africa, but he inspired people globally. So this day encourages individuals to reflect on your own potential to make a difference as a person and as a collective, and to take action in your own unique way. So as I close, I want to say in conclusion that Nelson Mandela Day is a significant occasion that honors the legacy of Nelson Mandela and inspires individuals to make a positive impact in the world. Through acts of service, individuals can help address social challenges, promote understanding, build peace, build stronger communities. This day serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for individual action to bring about change and the importance of embodying Mandela's values of peace building, compassion, kindness, and service. So as we celebrate today, we are reminded of the enduring power of his legacy and the potential for each one of us to contribute in our own way to make this world a better world. Our guest today, our guest speaker is a very special person in my life and in the world, and his name is Professor Jonathan Jansen, a very good friend. He's a distinguished professor of education at Stellenbosch University in Cape Town. And now, just to his background, is he has, until recently, he was the immediate past president of the Academy of Science of South Africa. He has a science background, which he started at the University of the Western Cape, where both of us studied. And his teaching credentials he acquired at the University of South Africa. But Jonathan was also at Cornell University, and he did a Master of Science there, where I was, and was also afterwards a PhD. He completed his PhD at Stanford University. Now, he has many accolades, and he's a distinguished professor, as I said, but he was recently inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and he was also the Hidden Global Fellow at Harvard University. But today, he sent me an email, and I was amazed that he was just admitted as a fellow of the British Academy, and that is fresh off the press. If I spend time just reading all the accolades and all these accomplishments, we'll be here for a very long time. But all I want to say is he's a luminary in the field of education, not only in South Africa, but all over the world. I have the good fortune of spending time with him every few weeks. He and I either have breakfast or lunch together. And I'm just fascinated by the fact that he, in his short life, had written 30 books. And I would encourage you to look up some of those books. I'm not going to go through the list. But over the past 40 years, he worked very hard as an educator, as a scholar, to advance research and scholarship. And so I want to just say this. he also, finally, he has lots of insight into leadership. In his books, you will see that. He has insight into race and personal growth. And this he has shown in many ways, and he was recognized for that. For example, he received a Lifetime Achiever Award for Africa at the Education Africa Global Awards in New York. I just want to say that for me, Jonathan Jansen reminds me, particularly on a day like today, of what Nelson Mandela stood for in terms of service. He's a distinguished professor at Stellenbosch University. He doesn't need to do anything else, but on his way to work in the morning, before he goes to Stellenbosch, he stops by a township school and he spends several hours there inspiring the young people at that high school. He did that last year and it made a huge difference in their achievement. And I deeply admire the fact that he continues to do that religiously every day before he does anything else. And so in that sense, for me, he is a Mandela. If you want to see a Mandela, you see him and listen to him as he speaks about his experience. And so it is a great pleasure for me and an honor to hand over to Professor Jonathan Jansen. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, John. Wow. I suppose one of the few advantages of being Black is you can't blush. But thank you for that very kind introduction. I don't recognize myself in all those beautiful words. You know, early this morning, we've reintroduced physical science, physics, and chemistry in this high school John was talking about. So early this morning, I took these young people, mainly from poor and working class homes, up Table Mountain. And I got an engineer to explain to them a project which I'd given them for their winter vacation, which is to explain the principle of the cable car's operation, which I know John would know very well as a mathematician. And they had to try and figure out what keeps this fascinating structure in, in space. It's actually a train line turned upside down. And you know what is amazing for me is that most of these children have never been to Cape Town, even though they live 20 minutes away. And of course, they've never been up the cable car. And so what a joy to be able to serve in this way young people and change their lives, as John has done for me and for many others. I stand on the shoulder of a giant when it comes to John, and I was just, teaching in high school. So thank you, John, also for your. Now you've given me 7 minutes, which means I can't do much damage. let me just let me just share a few thoughts that I have put together for you. So one of the things that really fascinated me during the Black Lives Matter movement, and in particular amplified during just after the extrajudicial killing of George Floyd in America, was this phrase, no justice, no peace. Now, this is a very, very powerful phrase. And so I spent quite a bit of time thinking about it, reading about this phrase in preparation for today, to try and find out what people meant. Now, the one thing that becomes clear to me is that when people say no justice, no peace, it's not really meant to be a threat. It's meant to show the inextricable linkage between two very important concepts, justice and peace. And of course, there have been people for centuries who have thought about this, but it has become a very powerful slogan, as you know, especially in the fight for racial justice in places like the United States and elsewhere. No justice, no peace. Now, I want to propose two ways of thinking about this. One is to think of peace as a condition for pursuing justice. That is to say, you cannot actually achieve a state of justice when you are at each other's throats. Nobody understood this better than Nelson Mandela. And people don't often talk, certainly not in South Africa, about his role as a peacemaker in a very difficult period, which was 1989 through 1994. People don't often talk, for example, anymore about the National Peace Accords, in which he engineered meetings of two other big leaders. In particular, one was Frederick de Klerk, who was the last white Prime Minister or President of South Africa, and a man who was his nemesis, Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who was very active in the killing fields of KwaZulu-Natal, one of the provinces on the east coast of South Africa. And he brought these three men together, understanding that the ability to pursue social justice was some semblance of peace. Okay. Now, where I think some of the more activist young people today in South Africa come out, and I've been both understanding but also critical of their position, which is Nelson Mandela, gave away too much. But at that point in time, as John intimated in his introduction, we could have, as a country, have gone into severe and ongoing bloodshed had Nelson Mandela not said, hey, let us at least start with peace, with some sense of a political peace in order to pursue these broader goals. It wasn't peace for its own sake. Now, people can become cynical about peace for its own sake. For example, and I'll come back to the Middle East in a minute, the notion of a ceasefire. If a ceasefire is only meant to stop the bleeding, and that's in itself a noble goal, then of course it achieves nothing in the long end. So people become quite cynical about ceasefires. In South Africa, on the other hand, in the dying days of apartheid, the instrument of choice was something called states of emergency. And so the white government would impose a state of emergency. In other words, you will have peace, even if we have to shove it down your throat. Now, of course, that doesn't work either, because it doesn't deal with the issue of justice. And so I want to suggest that when Nelson Mandela called for peace, it was not only because he saw it as a condition for the pursuit of the deeper issues like social justice, but it was also a strategy in order to bring people to a table so that you can work out together, not alone, together, what a different kind of South Africa could look like. And so that is a very profound contribution I thought that he made. And often, John and I were discussing this a few days ago, often in the face of very heavy criticism from within his own party, for taking the kind of risk and so on. So the first concept of peace I want to of no justice, no peace for me is peace as a condition, indeed as a strategy for pursuing justice. Secondly, I want to also propose that phrase suggests that justice or the achievement of justice is a condition for sustainable peace. In other words, you are not going to get a peace that lasts unless you deal with the underlying issues that create the sense of non-peace to begin with. And this is very, very important. So even in the act of reconciliation, the profound acts of reconciliation in which Mandela was our leader, he didn't do that simply to bring us together and have kumbaya moments. He did this because he knew you cannot have a sustainable peace, as again John was laid the canvas there, unless you deal with issues of justice. And so let me say this boldly. If your starting point for the Middle East crisis is the 7th of October 2023, then you miss the fact that Palestinians have existed in a state of injustice for decades. In other words, if you just abbreviate a long history of injustice, okay, and you say, oh, they disturbed the peace on the 7th of October, then of course you're missing the point. about how you can have a simulated a peace or relative peace without actually dealing with the displacement and indeed the oppression of the Palestinians, none of which, let me be clear, is a defense of what happened on 7th October. I thought it was cruel. I thought it was wrong and all of that. My point is a different one from them. My point is that you cannot simply start there and presume there was peace when there was no justice to begin with. And so justice, I want to propose, is only when achieved, enables you to get to a state of sustainable peace. One of the things that fascinates me as somebody who, in my small way, tries to make a difference in South Africa and in the world, is that you often get to a point of utter, a frustration, etc. I've been meeting the past few weeks, and last night, in fact, as well, with friends who are academics in the United States. It is a very bleak period in the US at the moment. I don't recognize that country. I love the country. It's a country in which my children were born. Some of John's children were born. It's a beautiful place with generous people, but I don't recognize it anymore, at least not in its current political state. And so inside of you, you almost want to give up. You always want to throw your hands in the air and sort of say, we are never going to achieve the kind of social justice for migrants, for example, in this Trumpian world. And then I'm reminded of this beautiful phrase with which I hope to encourage you, by Ernst Otto Zempel, which goes like this: peace is not a state of affairs, but it is a process of decreasing violence and increasing justice. Isn't that beautiful? Let me repeat that. Peace is not a state of affairs. It's, you don't get to a point where you say, oh, we are at peace. It is a constant process of decreasing violence and in increasing justice wherever you might be in the world. And so I leave you as a non-Catholic with the words of Pope John Paul VI in 1972. If you want peace, work for justice.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. It was an extremely powerful and brief message, but I'm sure you could have gone on for another hour and help us understand some of those issues. But I think it stuck with all of us that we are both committed to the pursuit of peace, but we can't do that without pursuing justice. And one is a precondition for the other. And you've given many examples of that, both in this country, of course, and in other parts of the world. And I would like to thank you for that. There is going to be, you actually finished 3 minutes ahead of time. So I don't know if there's any, are there any burning questions while we have Professor Jansen here, that anybody brave enough would say, I've got a question. Can you put up your hand? No? I don't see any. I'm sure you have. Jonathan, there is going to be, after this, starting in a few minutes,
Yes.
a panel, a group roundtable, where some peacemakers will be sharing their experiences. And they come from different countries: Colombia, Nigeria, Kenya, and one in Canada. So if you wish, I know how busy you are, and I would not like to detain you unnecessarily, but I'm sure I share, if you look at the comments, that there's deep appreciation of your input today, and it was something that we've recorded and we will reflect on. And it's adding so much value to the Ubuntu Leaders Academy. It is these kind of talks that makes us better leaders. So thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
John. Appreciate
You are
it.
free to leave, but you're also free to stay. So,
Thank you.
Miguel, it's over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Volmink. And thank you very much, Professor Jonathan Hansen. It's my honor to hear you for the first time. And I was asked to give you a warm regards from Zelda Lachranzi, who sent me a message just before we start. And she says, please regards to Professor Jansen, one of my favorite people on earth. After hearing you, I think that she is very right at what she says about you. So, as Professor Bolming just mentioned, we are going to continue this reflection on these topics about justice and peace, and we're going to start with a roundtable dedicated to the topic of living together in peace. It's my great pleasure to invite Professor John Volming to join me on facilitating this conversation. So, Professor Volming, maybe you can introduce us to our distinguished guests for this roundtable.
Yes, thank you. This is, of course, a very packed program. So we only have 4 minutes for each of the 4 people that will participate in the panel. And so we have with us today Daniel, and Daniel Morena. He's a political scientist from Colombia, and he is involved in social organization management. And his work has taken him to many countries, not only Colombia, of course, but Argentina, France, and the United Kingdom. And so today we have him, and I would just like to start, Daniel, if you are already, your focus has been on supporting victims of armed conflict in Colombia. And you've done that through this concept called restorative justice. And maybe you can help us understand in brevity, how does restorative justice differ from traditional forms of justice? And yeah, that's my question. And if you could just do it in 2 minutes, because we move around.
Hello, John. Thank you,
Yes,
everyone,
Daniel.
for being here. Okay, so restorative justice, from the restorative approach, what we do is we focus on repairing the harm. That's the difference with traditional justice. In traditional justice, what we look is who did the harm, and based on the law, what's the punishment this person has to face. In restorative justice, what we do is we look at the human side of the justice, and we look for who was harmed. The victim is in the center of the restorative approach, and we work in rebuilding the social fabric, which was broken because of the harm that was caused. I think that's the biggest idea.
Listen, yeah.
Now, what we face in restorative justice is to build in community, to bring the people who harm to the community instead of taking him or her away from the community.
That's very interesting. So I just have a follow-up question, a very quick one. And thanks for being so brief. I know you can go on and talk about this for a long time. But you know, there is people think that the choices in this world ethically is the choice between the right and wrong. But sometimes you have to choose between the right and right. Justice is right and mercy is right. And so sometimes you have to make up your mind. Are you going to go justice or are you going to go mercy? So how can we balance accountability? If people were perpetrators of violence, how can you balance the accountability and a concern for justice? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. So I think this balance can be made because it's not opposite. I mean, like we can show compassion and we can rebuild this social fabric and this relation um, through justice as it is connected. I mean, like accountability is something that people can reach through connecting with the other to understand through understanding what was exactly the harm he or she caused to the community. And for that, compassion is vital. It's a way we can connect with the other. So at the end, it's not something opposite. We can build this through responsibility or accountability to the acts we caused, to the harm we caused by connecting through compassion and empathy with the person. So at the end, it's not something opposite. That balance can be made um, when you really understand what was the harm and when you really will to repair that harm.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm sure people would like to engage with you about that, but we've now taken note of what you're saying and where you're coming from. So unfortunately, the 4 minutes are gone. So I hand over to Miguel.
Yes, thank you. Our next guest is Ako Eyu Oku. She is an Ubuntu leader from Nigeria, and she is a promoter of intellectual dialogue and global inclusion. And she has had a lot of experience on humanitarian and youth leadership training. So, Ako, welcome to this round table. And the first question that I would like to ask you is, do you think that peace can be achieved without inclusion? And why do you explain your answer?
Okay, thank you, Miguel. No, I don't think that peace can be achieved without inclusion. For peace to really be set in place, everybody heard, and any peace that is based on partiality bring every voice to the table. And sometimes we have people are not in conflict because peace is not just the absence of conflict. It's actually where everyone feels safe and feels in touch with the others. So when we have such situations, we only have silence, and silence can only becomes violence again. So no, I don't think that peace can be achieved without needed to achieve a peaceful and coexistent society.
Thank you very much. And what do you think about, and also thinking on the Ubuntu philosophy, how can a person find a balance between personal strong convictions and the openness to other people's perspectives in order to try to find like a balance and to trying to find peace when we think differently?
Thank you, Miguel. So we all have personal convictions and strong beliefs. It's typical of humans to have such. But one thing that we have to do is to be open-minded because the other person's beliefs also count. We are not always right or wrong. Sometimes you can have two rights, right? So always opening our ears to listen to others, giving them the respect that they need for the fact that they are humans, for the fact that they also have their own knowledge is key to inclusivity and peace. Nelson Mandela had strong beliefs. He was against apartheid, he was against injustice and racism. Nevertheless, and given the chance to lead, he brought even his so-called enemies to the table and he listened to them. That is not, and in giving others the platform to speak, we get to learn from them and see how we can bring their own thoughts and initiatives into what we envisage and what we want to put forward. And that way, Nelson Mandela was able to achieve a peaceful and progressive new South Africa. So I think it's key that we also listen in as much as we have our own personal strong beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're back with you, John.
Yes, our next panelist is Paula Gomez. Paula's very interesting background. She's a human rights lawyer. She's a community organizer. She's a public speaker, but also very interestingly, an artist facilitator. And she writes and speaks, but she has a deep commitment to social justice and to the transformative power of the arts in particular. And this is where I would like to, I just want to mention that Paula has moved from Colombia, where she is born and grew up, to Canada. And she resettled in Canada as a refugee. So Paula, I just wondered if there's so much we can talk about. And I know your background is so interesting, but maybe you can help us understand in brevity, how do you use art to challenge systems of injustice and inequality? Just that. Yeah.
Buenos días. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Professor Woolmick, for this question. As someone who migrated and experienced displacement firsthand, I carry those stories of adversity from the reasons that forced me to leave Colombia to the process of migrating and coming and settling into a new country. At times, dealing with the adversity and the discrimination that happens to immigrants and refugees in the new places where we settle, where we are dehumanized and where we are converted into numbers, depending where we're coming from. I carry those experiences with me, as well as the experiences of those who we work with. Through Muse Arts in Canada and in Colombia, we use art as a tool to create a space for work communities, especially those impacted by forced migration, for those who have to experience violence and systematic marginalization, to express, heal, and reclaim their narratives. Art, to your question in particular, art allows to tell stories and that are often silenced or ignored. And it becomes a mirror to those systems of injustice and become also a platform for change. We know that communities living in spaces, at least here in Canada, spaces such as shelters, temporary shelters, or those precarity, immigration status, reclaim their voices through the use of arts, because arts becomes that non-aggressive and non-intrusive way in which we can hold space for different ways of experiencing the world, but also to express our opinions and find a common ground.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paula. Now, last question. How do you measure the change that is brought about in your community? How do you measure the change, whether through art or otherwise? You're working hard in your various, you're wearing different hats. And as a young Mandela, you want to see the difference. And how do you measure that difference?
Thank you so much for that question. I think something before measuring is to remember that when we go into community and when we use arts as that way to create and to transform those realities, we remind ourselves that we are not delivering programs, that we are co-creating, that the communities that we go and work with and the conversations that we're holding for peace building and community building are a process of co-creation where we facilitate, where we don't dictate. Therefore, what we do is that we listen. We listen with lots of intention. We measure the impact based on participants' reflection. We go into process of storytelling. We get space for community feedback and create networks that are beyond the programming that we bring. So how we create a space for those communities to continue together after we leave the space, how we actually are invested in those moments of community building that will translate in peaceful spaces. I'm thinking of what you have said before in relation to what peace is, and the fact that we need to remind ourselves that peace is not only the absence of violence, but also that sentiment of feeling at ease in safe in spaces that where we share with people that may not think like us. And I think the other part that is very important is that we measure those achievements through, the documentation of the work, but also the connections that we create with other organizations, not only with the community, but the organizations that we work with. Just to give you a quick example, recently we got the Toronto Community Champions Award and the Human Rights Award because of the work that we do in community, especially with refugees here in Canada.
That's fantastic. I just want to say that for the encouragement of the panel, I just got on my phone a message from Professor Jansen. He said it's a stunning panel. And he's listening somewhere, and he absolutely loves it. So I hand over, we've got 4 minutes left, so I hand over to Miguel for the last input.
Thank you, Professor. And Paola, thank you very much. You just made me think on the Tejedora de Marchipan, hearing your story, and it just touches one of my internal fibers. So thank you very much for the work you've been doing. Our last panelist is Elijah Murimi. He's based in Kenya, and he is deeply committed to fostering dialogue, resolving conflict, and strengthening grassroots peace initiatives with local communities. Welcome, Elijah. Thank you very much for being here today. And I would like to ask you, how has this work changed your personality or reshaped your understanding of peace, the work that you do?
Thank you very much. As you said, my name is Elijah. I work in RAM in peace. According to the question, I work very closely with the community affected by the conflict that has deepened my beliefs, and that peace is not just the absence of the violence. It is the presence of justice, inclusion, and dignity. And I have learned that the peace building requires patience, listening, and humility. It is about small daily action that build bridges and not just a large initiative.
Thank you very much. Very interesting what you say. Sometimes communities have to remain among a conflict, and even though they are in between the conflict, they find ways to find peace. As you say, peace is not always uh, the absence of violence. And then my second question would be, what lessons from your local work could be applied in a national or global way for peace building efforts?
Thank you, Miguel. One of the key lessons is the true importance of the community ownership in peace building. Like in Ramu, we realize that peace efforts are sustainable only when the local people feel heard, valued, and also involved. Building the trust through consistency dialogue and also um, respecting cultural dynamics and integrating traditional conflict resolution. Those methods have proven effectively, and these principles are equal, relevant at the national and also globally level. This means that peace must be built with the community, not for them. So in Lamu, we think that locally the community itself can be able to resolve the conflicts and keep peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Miguel.
Yes, sir.
Miguel, Professor Jensen has to leave soon, but he just wants to say a 1 minute, he just wants to give a 1 minute comment on the panel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Here he is.
we need to unmute his microphone.
Yeah, you have to.
Oh, there you go. You can
Yeah.
speak now, Professor.
Thank you, Miguel and John. First of all, just want to commend both of you for the quality of the questions. I really, really enjoyed this panel of stars, and I just thought, John, the chances of having on Mandela Day colleagues from Nigeria, Colombia, Kenya, and a displaced colleague in Canada, I think the old man would have been proud. He would have been extremely proud, and I got goosebumps, listening to Akko, Daniel, Elijah, and Paula. The second thing I just want to say is that this is not an abstract discussion. As I listened to Paola's amazing reflection on the arts, I mean, she's actually living the very thing we're talking about by having to leave, Colombia for Canada. In the case of Elijah, I was tempted, to jump in and say, I don't know how many people know in Kenya right now, there is an uprising, against the Kenyan government, which again, Elijah is in the middle of all of this. And what an incredible, I wish he would have spoken more about that, But my point simply is this is an experiential account of Ubuntu and the struggle for peace, and not just a theoretical discussion. I was also deeply moved by Daniel's clear activism around these issues in Colombia, and Akko's really amazing input. But here's the point. When you asked Akko the question, can you, Miguel, can you pursue, peace and all of this without inclusion? It just hit me that what Mandela understood very well is I don't have to agree with you in order to pursue justice. What I need to do is recognize you. And it's in the recognition that we include. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much. John and myself were supposed to do like a final statement with conclusions, but I think that we both are speechless after having your summary of this panel. Thank you very much, Professor Jansen.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Umi, you are now going to share with us what we are going to do from now on, dividing the group into breakout rooms. So go ahead, Umi.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Miguel, and our guest speakers today. It was I'm hoping to learn a lot because I've had a lot from you guys today. And as we talk today is Nelson Mandela's Day, and believe that Madiba always believed on the importance of every voice of every person. And in this spirit that we move on to the next moment, we are going to divide you into small groups, into a simultaneous rooms with Ubuntu, that is Paula, with our guest speakers, Paula, Daniel, Elijah, Echo, and Professor John. And in those rooms, we are going to invite you to use this time to deepen your ideas, ask questions, and communicate more effectively with the speakers. To join the breakout rooms, just wait to be redirected for our support team. You just need to wait, prepare your questions, and reflect, and see you shortly. I hope you're going to enjoy the conversations. Thank you. So we're going to wait for some few minutes, and we are going to break out into a small rooms, and then we are going to be preparing ourselves for those conversations. Yeah, thank you.
Guys, we are going amazing. Thank you so much for your effort. Now we have 15 minutes, okay? Breakout room. A bit before we close the breakout rooms, we let you know, okay?
Sure. Pedro, congratulations. The technical side has been flawless. Very good job.
We enjoy. It is like a concert, so we enjoy.
Yeah.
Ela falou que quer foda selvagem, me convidou pra jogar Kama Sutra. Olha na cara, ela passa batido, brota na base, ela paga.
All the night covers me, unafraid. I believe on this place, breath and tear, on the hour, turn to year. I thank whatever.
Miguel and Rumi. Miguel and Rumi, we are back in 30 seconds, okay? 12 seconds,
Perfect.
10 seconds. Rumi, I hope that you are there. Can you turn on your camera so I make sure? Yes, you are there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So, can you turn on your camera, Rumi? Okay, we are just closing, so please sit, music is entering, and we close.
Welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope that the conversations have been enriching for every one of you. We have a beautiful quote from Nelson Mandela on the slide saying, "When the history of our time is written, will we be remembered as the generation that turned its back on a time of global crisis, or as the generation that did the right thing?" And this is a perfect call of action for the next moment that we're going to have. We are inviting you to listen to the Ubuntu World Voices. These are testimonials from young people and leaders from various parts of the world about what it means for them to build peace in their communities. So if our team can please just roll the video.
Hello, everybody. My name is Moses Machipisa from Zimbabwe, and I promote peace by providing access to quality education, clean water and sanitation, as well as nutrition for 500 learners that we have here at our school called Chipochashe, which is located in Mashonaland East Province, which is a rural area in Dema here in Zimbabwe. Our school is designed to support the most marginalized learners here, to give them access to quality education so that they can become what they dream of, to become the leaders and the next generation of leaders here in Africa. This is how we are promoting peace. I am because you are. And what are you doing to promote peace?
Hello, my name is Sergio.
And I'm Margarita.
We're speaking from University Pacific at Lima, Peru.
And we promote self-knowledge for Ubuntu Week, where we are trainers.
We also promote servant leadership and help people recognize their strengths.
Because you are, because I am.
Hello everyone, I'm Marta. I'm speaking from Évora, Portugal. I promote peace by welcoming at-risk young people and ensuring they have equal opportunities. I believe in affection and meaningful connection as the foundation for education. Through historical, social and cultural learning, I work to break down prejudice and build bridges of empathy and love for others. I am because you are.
I am Peter Muga, speaking to you from Kenya. I promote peace through training youth and women in organic farming to earn a living and support school construction. This is my step toward peace, because I am, because you are.
My name is Simon. I am speaking to you from Lida, Uganda. I promote peace by providing technical and vocational education to young people in northern Uganda. These are the people who totally lost hope and they have dropped out of school. Our training and skills make them more self-reliant, and as you know, the self-reliant person will always be someone respectful, because the self-reliant person are always busy into making incomes and being involved into income generating activity. They will not go to street to cause violence or riots that can disorganize the peace of the area. We choose that path. This is my way of promoting peace. What about you? I am because you are.
Hello, I'm Mariana, speaking to you from Colombia. I promote peace by helping young people discover their worth. As a youth group volunteer, I support teenagers in recognizing their gifts and using them to make positive choices. I create spaces where they feel valued and confident to grow. This is my step toward peace, because I am, because you are.
Bonjour, cette famille Ubuntu. Je suis Christophe Ndouy. Je parle depuis le Sénégal, plus particulièrement Casamance. Je promets la paix en aidant les communautés qui avaient quitté les villages, qui avaient quitté leur localité à cause du conflit en Casamance. Aujourd'hui, ils veulent rentrer. Je contribue à leur retour de sorte à ce qu'ils puissent préserver leur dignité et leur autonomisation au sein de leur communauté. Se sentir chez soi, c'est préserver sa dignité. C'est ma démarche pour la paix. Je suis parce qu'ils sont. S'ils sont, parce que je suis.
Olá, eu sou Paula Camará e falo a partir de Guiné-Bissau. Eu promovo a paz quando no meu trabalho diário com jovens e comunidades vulneráveis desenvolvo atividades educativas e de cidadania que estimulem a empatia, a escuta ativa e a resolução pacífica dos conflitos. Este é o meu passo pela paz, porque eu sou, porque tu és.
Hello everyone, my name is Bosco Boro James from South Sudan. I promote peace through access to inclusive education, peace through sports for children, and access to food security and livelihood. Ubuntu Community School provides educational access to around 300 plus learners in our school. We are located in Gudele West, Block 6. We are committed in providing access to dignified basic needs for children. We as a community, we are working in nurturing and building bridges for better tomorrow in South Sudan.
Hello Ubuntu family, my name is Joseph Okino from Uganda. I am the country coordinator of Ubuntu Leaders Academy here. I'm very glad to celebrate Mandela Day. I also founded and I'm the leader of World Educare Network, NGO that is empowering communities in Uganda from from ignorance, against diseases and poverty. We do this through our partnership with 18 schools, and that is our way of creating peace in communities and schools. I am because you are.
Olá, eu sou a Cláudia, sou de Portugal. Eu promovo a paz quando trabalho com pessoas presas, ajudando-as a desenvolver as suas competências sociais, emocionais e relacionais. Porque acredito na humanidade comum e acredito que podemos sempre reescrever a nossa história. Este é o meu passo pela paz. Eu sou português.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Al Nasser. As a lawyer and as a founder of HIV and Law Initiative, I promoting peace. I supporting people living with HIV, vulnerable communities and key population in order to take their rights, to live with dignity and empathy. This work can reach the community in more stronger point, more stronger level, more productive community. For this to work, I always believe in acceptance. I always believe in promoting peace. Peace is the idea.
Hello, my name is John Fghale and I'm speaking from Lebanon. I promote peace by educating young men and women in Lebanon and the MENA region about their intrinsic human dignity. I teach them to promote the value of this human dignity, and I teach them about the fact that it is invaluable and inconceivable from conception to natural death. It is something no government or entity or a person can take away from them. This is the way I promote peace in this part of the world. How about you?
Wow, what a beautiful video. And this just show us what a great community we are, since we have gathered together around this idea of the academy, of the Ubuntu Leaders Academy. This is great, and this shows us that each one of us can add something into the peace building purposes. Our young people who shared their testimonials just showed us that peace can be built today, even in diverse and powerful ways. It could be either be done through education or youth empowerment or sports or access to water and nutrition and vulnerable communities. So now we're going to present to you an idea, a proposal that Umi is going to introduce to us.
So thank you so much, Miguel. It was nice seeing my fellow alumni from all over the world spreading the philosophy of Nelson Mandela. As we all know, Mandela teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear. Inspired by this, it is time to ask ourselves, what commitment am I willing to make for peace in my context? And at this moment, we want to launch a challenge. We propose that each one of you thinks, what can I do as a contribution to the world of peace? We all know right now, peace is what is encouraging to what is going on in the world. So what can I do as a contribution to world peace? It can be an attitude in your daily life, something that you can change within yourself, against your school, in your family, in your community, small but meaningful and very impactful to the world and to yourself also. We are going to be collecting this commitment, an interactive Padlet where our commitment will be recorded. And we are going to show you the Padlet with the support of my team. It will be displayed. Once it is going to be displayed, you are going to access the Padlet via the QR code that will be displayed on the screen or via the link in the chat. So the Padlet will be shared. You can either use the QR code or you can use the link that is in the chat. And the next thing that you can do is you click the plus sign button at the bottom of the right screen, and in the subject to write your name and the country, your origin, the country that you're coming from, and below you write something that is fantastic and extrovert. That is very meaningful. And also it's going to impact everyone in the world. And at the same time, your message, it can be a message or a commitment or a reflection, anything that you feel like has an impact and has a meaning. And if you want, you can also add an image or a video in it. So once you're done, you just click the done button and we are going to be able to see it. So the Padlet is going to be shared. You can either see it at the chat or there's a QR code that's going to be shared. You can write your commitment and displayed on the screen through the link in the chat. Yeah. Thank you. So the QR code is there, and for those who cannot access the QR code, the link is at the chat. You can just pop up so that we can see some of the Padlets, the good things and the good messages that you guys have to the world. It's just an amazing thing, and we want to hear like what you guys have and what are you guys thinking. It's amazing. As a lot of things that are going on, and I know they have a lot of impact, even if it's small, but surely it does have an impact. Yeah. And this word become the seed of your change in our world. And I would like to thank you all for your diversity and meaningful contribution. So we want to see from there. Yeah.
The hours that turn to years, I thank whatever gods may be. 9,000 days were set aside, 9,000 days of destiny, 9,000 days to thank gods wherever they may be. It matters not the circumstance, we rise above, took a chance, and I thank whatever gods may be. 9,000 days were set aside, 9,000 days of destiny, 9,000 days to thank gods wherever they may be. Whoa, a broken heart that turned to stone. whatever God's may be.
I can see you already started posting the Padlets. Good messages that we are getting. Like someone says, for a better world, the art should be inclusive and spread harmony. Yes, that's amazing. Of course, we need to spread harmony and become inclusive. We are all diversified. Yeah. So I have someone saying at the chat that the link is not working. I don't know. Let me check. Okay, yeah. So I would like to thank everyone for your contribution. I know good messages have been posted and have very impactful. And let's make these words become the seed of change in our world. And I would like to thank you all for your diverse and meaningful contribution. Thank you. Over to you, Miguel.
Thank you, Umi. And to reaffirm this path of commitment and action, we now want to present the initiative I Stand Up for Dignity. This is an Ubuntu campaign for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You know, we live in times when human rights are in many contexts ignored, threatened, or even attacked. More than ever, it is urgent now to recall and reaffirm the universal principles that unite us as humanity. This I Stand Up for Dignity is promoted by the Ubuntu community, invites people worldwide to show their support for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, reinforcing our personal commitment to the values of dignity, equality, freedom, and peace, which were embraced by humanity in 1948. But before we tell you a bit more about this initiative, let's watch a short video that will help us understand what the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is and how it became about and why it remains so relevant today. So let's remember the Universal Declaration.
Where, after all, do universal human rights begin?
After World War II, it was clear that the horrors of the war should never be allowed to occur again. Founded in 1945, the United Nations sought to prevent future atrocities by affirming, in its foundational charter, faith in fundamental human rights, the dignity and worth of the human person, and a commitment to promote better standards of life in larger freedom. In the years that followed, member states of the United Nations strived to develop the human rights provisions of the Charter and capture them in a single document. It took 3 years to agree on a common vision. On the 10th of December, 1948, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations.
Still, it is the first step in a great evolutionary process. It is the first occasion on which the organised community of nations has made a declaration of human rights and fundamental freedoms. and it has the authority of the body of opinion of the United Nations as a whole. And millions of people, men and women and children all over the world, will turn for hope and guidance and inspiration to this document.
While history alone can determine the historic significance of an event, it is safe to say that the declaration before us may be destined to occupy an honorable place in the procession of positive landmarks in human history.
The Declaration consists of a preamble and 30 articles, with Article 1 powerfully proclaiming that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. No discrimination, right to life, liberty and security, no slavery, no torture or cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, equal protection of the law, no arbitrary arrest, detention or exile, fair and public hearing, no arbitrary interference with privacy, right to freedom of movement, right to seek and enjoy asylum, right to a nationality, right to marry and to found a family, right to property, freedom of thought, conscience and religion, freedom of opinion and expression, freedom of peaceful assembly and association, right to take part in government, right to work, right to rest and leisure, right to food, clothing, housing, medical care and social services, right to education, right to participate in cultural life.
These human rights are not country-specific. They are not a reward for good behavior or particular to a certain era or social group. They are the rights of people of every color, from every race and ethnic group, whether or not they have disabilities, citizens or migrants, no matter their sex, their class, their caste, their creed, their age, or sexual orientation.
The Declaration has generated action for human rights protection in many ways. It has inspired hundreds of human rights instruments that together constitute international human rights law and a number of international bodies and mechanisms for human rights protection. The principles of the Declaration have supported the decolonization struggle and have been enshrined in the constitutions of the newly established countries which have joined the United Nations. The Declaration has inspired national and regional human rights protection systems, including legislation and institutions. And it continues to guide the work of human rights defenders and advocates worldwide. Today, the Declaration is available in more than 500 languages and dialects, and it has obtained the Guinness World Record for the most translated document in the world. The 10th of December, the day on which the Declaration was adopted, is celebrated each year as Human Rights Day. The Declaration emphasizes the relevance of human rights in our daily lives.
Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world of the individual person, the neighborhood he lives in, the school or college he attends, the factory, farm, or office where he works. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. Without concerted citizen action to uphold them close to home, we shall look in vain for progress in the larger world.
This historic document was adopted by United Nations on December 10th, 1948. That was a time where the world was still marked by the horrors of World War II. And representatives from different cultures and traditions gathered together to jointly affirm that all human beings, regardless of origin, color, gender, religion, or status, have equal and inalienable rights. Today, over 75 years later, we live in times when these rights continue to be threatened or ignored. And so this initiative invites us to remember the commitments made on 1948, not just as a memory, but as a concrete and current action. This simple gesture is also a political and civic act to show states that there are voices demanding that human rights be at the center of public decisions and social life. It's a gesture of responsibility, like Mandela's, who choose reconciliation over revenge and unity over exclusion. So, Umi, how can we participate on this initiative?
How we are going to be participating in this initiative is the first thing we are going to identify with this cause on the online platform. We're going to show you the QR code for the initiative by accessing the QR code that will be displayed on the screen or the link in the chat, and publicly reaffirm your commitment to the values of peace, justice, and equality. And then second, we're going to spread this message. The campaign will be active until December 10th, 2025, the International Human Rights Day. Make sure you share it as much as you can on your social networks. That is any social network that you have, schools, communities, and any platform that you think you can share the message, please do. Because the more the voices join, the stronger the message the message is. And at this moment, we may take these collective gestures to be more than symbolic. May it be the beginning of a global movement for the dignity of all human rights. Yeah, thank you. Up to you, Miguel.
Thank you, Yumi. And because this is a moment of commitment, sharing, and hope, we want to take a picture. We want to take a group photo to capture this moment. So I invite everyone to put their cameras on and put a big smile in your face. And because we are a group that it's 86 people connected right now, so it might take a small moment, but the invitation is that we all put our cameras on, we all keep our smile in our faces for a bit, while the technical team can help us with taking the picture for posterity. So let's
Hello,
wait
everyone.
for their message.
Hello,
Yeah, go
Miguel.
ahead, Pedro.
Hello, Miguel. Hello, Umi. I'm gonna go through the view of Zoom. I'm gonna go through all the windows from so many places. My colleague Boy will take the screen sharing now, and I'm going one by one, taking a picture of each one of you, smiling for this beautiful image. We just did something remarkable. We just signed up individually the Declaration of Human Rights. I don't believe there is many opportunities for something so remarkable, something so wonderful. Each one of us is committed from now on with this declaration. Each one of us believes and sign up that he believes on this declaration. Each one of us also contributes to implement, to make it real, this declaration. So it's a great moment to put on our best faces, our best smiles, and just look to the camera. And I'm going window by window, just recording your faces. So give me just a second. I believe that everyone is with the camera on and smile. We have many people in so many places. Oh, I see Anthony on Philippines raising up
I love it. Yeah,
And
Tony, that's great.
so many good friends, so many good friends. Good to see you all. Umi, Miguel, I believe I have everyone on the camera. Later, we will share this on our social media, so please share with your friends. Share the content. We just share on the chat some image you can spread all around the world, asking to your friends, asking to your colleagues, to your family. Please join us and sign up to the Declaration of Human Rights. Okay? So don't forget this message. And Miguel, Umi, now with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Thank you so much for being be able to capture. Obviously, we need those pictures for memories. Thank you. We are now coming to the end, but before we say goodbye completely, we want to leave you with a special invitation. Have you participated in the Ubuntu Leaders Academy as a participant or a facilitator? And have you an impact story you want to share, or do you know someone who would like to tell theirs? This is the chance. Okay, there's an open call to collect our life story from Ubuntu, who took part of Ubuntu Leaders ALU programs. These stories will be part of the special book celebrating the impact of Ubuntu methodology and transformative powers of non-formal education focused on social emotional skills. You can register via the QR code displayed on the screen or through the links on the chat. We can count on you to give the voice to this legacy. Thank you. Over to you, Miguel.
Well, now it's our time to thank you, all of you, for your generous listening, for sharing, and your presence on this time. We have Omar has raised his hand. I don't know if you want to ask or share something quickly, Omar. Okay. It might be something that might be just a glitch. All right, no problem. So again, thank you all very, very much for all your time, your patience, your presence here, and sharing with us on the chat. Umi.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. This has been a very collective moment of reflection, and but also a deep of inspiration. And we become so close, and we want to thank you and hand over to someone who every day leads with the spirit of Ubuntu and with strong commitment to the legacy we are celebrating today. We now invite the president and the CEO of IPAF, that Hui, to deliver the closing words of this session. So, Mr. Hui, welcome. I don't know. I'm so excited. I'm handing
Hello,
it
Umi.
over to you. Thank you.
Hello, Umi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. It's amazing to be here. It was wonderful to see so many people, so many friends from all over the world. Also, to be together in this moment where we expressed and reaffirmed our commitment with the peace in the world, with more justice. And I have to thank you, everybody, and also to the technical team, to the logistical team, to the hosts, to everybody, this big, huge team that make this happen. It is a transnational team that have been working here to prepare this session and to put it ongoing. On February 11, 1990, 35 years ago, 50 kilometers away from Cape Town, the gates of Victor Verster prison opened to return to the world a face that few still remembered, a face that, nonetheless, had become a symbol of global outrage against segregation and the abuse of power by a regime that no longer had place in the world, a regime that trampled fundamental human rights. Its very existence had become unbearable and unsustainable. Nowadays, just like then, today's wars, human rights violations, the injustice prevails and have also become unbearable and unsustainable. Madiba's serene walk after 27 years of imprisonment defied all expectations. What emerged was not a vengeful superhero, but a charismatic and inspiring man, able to recognize, even in the eyes of his warders, able to make everybody believe in the best version of themselves. Now, just as then, we live suffocated by vengeful superheroes and long for charismatic and inspiring leaders. Mandela taught us that peace is not a destination but a path walked with active listening, civic courage, forgiveness, and reconciliation. A resilient path that calls us to build bridges, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a form of resistance against the logic of war. In every conflict, bridges are the first targets. Destroying them is strategy to isolate, divide, and weaken. We need each other's. We need each other's care to remain as bridges and not let ourselves be destroyed by misinformation and polarization. Caring for bridges is a radical act in a dehumanizing world. Caring for myself, for the other, and for the planet is how we recover the meaning of our existence. It is how we create space for leaders like Mandela to flourish as courageous servants. For this Mandela Day, Madiba left us with a very simple and achievable request for all. If each one of us dared, in humility, to answer his call and commitment to a gesture of peace, no matter how small, no matter how modest, tailor it to our context and capacity, we would indeed be changing the world. Recalling Mandela's words to PNR as portrayed by the Invictus movie, how do we make people better than they think they are? How do we inspire ourselves to greatness when nothing else will do? Through inspiration. As we close this session, let us be inspired by the poem that inspired Mandela on Robben Island. Let Invictus inspire us to become the best version of ourselves. And let us make each day a Mandela Day. Thank you all. We are all in this together.
Can we see the president's cell? Yes.
Thank you so much.
Now, the number on the door, 46664, means he was the 466th prisoner to be interned here in 1964. You've done it up just the way it was. Come with me.
Can we see the president's cell?
Yes, of course.
Lord, can you believe this?
Now, the number on the door, 46664 means he was the 466th prisoner to be interned here in 1964. You've done it up just the way it was.
So we are having some technical issues with your video, but let's go back for what Rui said. That is the moment where Pinar, the captain of the Springboks, arrives to Robben Island and faces, encounters, meets that space where that man spent so long period of his life. Let's watch the reaction of Pinar. Let's hear the voice of Invictus poem. Technical team, please.
Can we see the president's cell?
Yes, of course.
Lord, can you believe this?
Now, the number on the door, 46664, means he was the 466th prisoner to be interned here in 1964. You've done it up just the way it was. Come with me.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet, the menace of the years binds and shall bind me, unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
So thank you very much, everyone. Once again, I was just leaving a message on the chat. It has been a real pleasure and an honor for me to be here today with my great colleague Umi, co-hosting this celebration. We just wish you all a very good afternoon, day, night. And I thank Umi for your company today and the great work that you did, as well as all the team from IPAV in Peru, in Portugal, and all your help, translation, and technically managing this conversation today. Thank you, Umi. Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ubuntu community.
Thank you, Miguel.
Shojoloza, kulevuntabas, timelas, pumesala, Shojoloza, kulevuntabas, timelas, pumesala,
When we are